There's, I believe so far this year, there have been over 1,500 arrests related to pedophilia. And you don't see that in the news.
Hey friends, before we get started, I just want to give a special thank you to our good friends at SD Bullion, a longtime sponsor of SGTReport.com. Just click on the banner at the top of SGT Report or go to sdbullion.com/SGT. And if you're a new customer, you can get a 10-ounce bar of silver at spot price. Just use the code SILVER23. Also, if you want an unbelievable deal on American Silver Eagles, you can get them as low as $1.89 over spot in any quantity. You're not going to beat that deal. A former longtime silver guru in the space has just announced that he sold all of his physical silver. And if that's not the sign of ultimate capitulation, I'm not sure what is. Oh, and one last thing. Cliff High personally tells me that early December will provide a present for the silver and gold world. Who's right? Who's wrong? I say, just keep on stacking. So click on the banner at the top of SGT Report and visit our good friends at sdbullion.com. Hey friends, thanks so much for tuning in. You know how much we appreciate it and how much we appreciate you. Thanks so much to my patrons over at patreon.com. You're making a world of difference for us and so many people in the truth space. You know, we're all moving heaven and earth to try to combat the official narratives, which in most cases, at least as it pertains to the mainstream media, is nothing but lies. Bill Holter is here to help me break down the latest. Bill, how are you, sir?
Good, Sean. Thanks for having me back.
I really appreciate you coming back on. I was reading your latest missive, and we're going to go through some of these things here. You wrote in your latest missive, we live in a yield-starved world, and I want to get to that in a second, but you also wrote, McCain and Hillary both broke stuff over the same weekend. I think Hillary broke her toe, and McCain did something to his Achilles. Now they both have boots on their right foot. Strange coincidence, isn't it?
Well, maybe it is a coincidence, but we can hope there's ankle bracelets under those.
Yeah, I was seeing speculation about that very same thing, and some of this is wild speculation, but we know who the real criminals are. There's so many, we don't need to name them all, but among the top criminals are people like Hillary Clinton, John and Tony Podesta, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and then on the right side of the aisle, I believe John McCain, who's very chummy with the Rothschilds, constantly getting support from Linda Rothschild on her Twitter account. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's like every fifth tweet is some wonderful statement about John McCain being a hero. It would be terrific if some of these sealed indictments, Bill, include some of these hardcore criminals like Hillary and the Podestas. And as you know, it's rumored that Tony Podesta is among them.
Right. Well, just the fact that I think the latest number that I saw was 1,183 sealed indictments. That's completely unprecedented. I was listening to a lawyer talk about how many sealed indictments per month are handed down in the various regions. And he said once you get to 6 or 7, that's off the charts. So, I mean, 1,183 is completely unprecedented. This is it's a huge sweep. What they're sweeping, we don't know. We can hope it's pedophilia. We can hope it's money laundering. We can hope it's Clinton Foundation related, stuff like that. But there's no way to know.
Well, hopefully we'll know soon enough. I did share a tweet in one of my last videos about the sealed indictments, some of which are in Little Rock, Arkansas, the Clintons' old stomping grounds, when, of course, he was governor and running drugs through Mena, Arkansas with the CIA. Some of the sealed indictments are in Chicago, home, of course, Rahm Emanuel and Obama. Some of the sealed indictments are in, of course, New York, which would be a great spot to go after some of the people that were involved with criminal Hillary Clinton when she was a senator there. Some of the indictments were from L.A., home of the Hollywood PEDOS. So I think that's really what people are starting to wonder and speculate about. Is Donald Trump targeting the real hardcore criminals and the pedophiles? And I think there's a lot of breadcrumbs to suggest that he is.
Well, as you said, it's speculation. We can only hope. I can tell you one thing the mainstream press has not reported hardly at all on. There's, I believe so far this year, there have been over 1,500 arrests related to pedophilia. And you don't see that in the news.
No, and I made this point in one of my last videos. What you do see in the news, CNN in particular, is you see them disparage those that are researching the DC-centric problem of child sex trafficking as nothing but internet nuts. And you'll see them defend Comet Ping Pong and James Alefantis.
Yeah, that was all fake news according to CNN and the mainstream press.
That's right.
I truly believe, you remember and I did it on your channel. I started the year off with 2017 was going to be the year of the truth bomb. And you get these indictments open, and they set off my alarms.
Bill has some painters in his house today, and they just set off the alarm. So it sounds pretty good, Bill. We can hear you pretty well.
Can you hear the...
Yeah, we can hear some buzzing going on in the background.
My dogs are going nuts. Hang on.
All right. You good?
Yeah, if you want to get it done, you got to do it yourself.
All right. Where we left off, Bill, was we were talking about CNN covering up the whole child sex trafficking thing and the whole Pizzagate meme, which I assure listeners is real. And I just want to play this snippet from a CNN hit piece in which they feature James Alefantis showing off the server in the closet at Comet Ping Pong, where he says the shooter, Edgar Welch, came in and fired a couple of shots, one of which miraculously hit the Comet Ping Pong server.
Alefantis says he wouldn't have found anything exciting. And here is our bags and coat closet. The bullet went into our computer system. After police arrived, Welch surrendered peacefully, saying that he was trying to rescue the children.
So there you have it, Bill. It's just like the magic bullet that took the life of JFK. The magic bullet just happened to hit the server at Comet Ping Pong, probably the same server that Titus Frost tells us houses child pornography.
They will get to the bottom of that. I mean, it's not fake news.
According to what I have seen in the emails to and from the DC police, what was found in this protected section on Comet Ping Pong's website was child porn.
I mean, they have to get to the bottom of that.
Look, the problem of child trafficking and the ritual sexual abuse of children and pedophilia is rampant throughout the world. We call it on a global basis Pedogate, and as it relates to Washington, D.C. specifically, we call it Pizzagate. And I'd like to remind readers that this is another giant coincidence. Before Pizzagate was ever even a term, before any of us were even covering the problem of pedophilia in Washington, D.C., about a year prior to Pizzagate being termed, Jennifer Tapper, the wife of Jake Tapper, told the Washingtonian that their favorite date night restaurant was Buck's Camping and Fishing, and their favorite family restaurant was Comet Ping Pong. You can't make this stuff up, folks. I'm sorry. At the very least, that is a coincidence of gargantuan proportion. I think that where there's smoke, there's fire, and that's why the mainstream media is covering this whole story up.
In my opinion, and I think in the opinion of many, there's no crime worse than abusing a child.
That's 100% right.
It's a red line that no matter how whacked out of your mind you are, that if that red line is crossed, it will change attitudes across the nation. It'll change attitudes worldwide, and it will break confidence. I mean, that's, if you want to call it the ultimate truth bomb, that will break confidence completely, that the world is being led by complete scum, by the scum of the earth.
That's right. It's an issue that can bring the right and the left together, because it's an issue of good versus evil, dark versus light, Satan versus Jesus Christ. At the very end of the day, this pedophilia stuff, this child sex trafficking, we know the Saudis have been involved. Saudi princes have been involved with this stuff up to their eyeballs, and it's now coming out. So we can talk about that Saudi purge, because I think it's pretty good news that some of Clinton's top defenders are among the... Well, look, Prince Bandar is among those reportedly arrested. And as you know, Prince Bandar openly threatened Putin in 2014 with a terrorist attack at the Sochi Games if Putin did not end his support for Assad in Syria. And he said the terrorist attack would come from Chechen rebels that he bragged the Saudis controlled. I mean, and he's among those arrested. Same with Talal, the big Hillary Clinton supporter.
Yeah, don't forget supporters of Bush. One of the bin Laden princes was arrested.
That's right. Yep, Osama bin Laden's brother was also arrested.
It goes to the deep state. And when I wrote my article, I think it was Monday, I just asked the question, is there a connection between, and at that point I think there was, 380 or 90 sealed indictments, and I asked the question if there was a connection between the Saudi purge and what looks to be a coming purge here. And I absolutely think there's a direct connection.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm going to read this. I've been sharing snippets from this article from the Muslim Issue about Saudis and child sex. Let me read this little snippet. On 26 August 2005, an American national wrote his own true story on a website forum about child sex trade in Saudi Arabia as follows, just a brief snippet here, quote, "And boys, lots of boys. I know this is a fact because in my late teens I worked for a Saudi who owned a large construction business and other ventures. Basically he was loaded, and it actually gets worse from there. Time and time again it says the U.S. media reports scandals when slaves of Saudi princes and their procurers brought into the United States try to escape. When a U.S. citizen enslaved and tortured by King Fahd's nephews was told by a guard in the palace prison that the last person to inhabit his cell was a, quote, U.S. girl child whore slave, end quote, we soon found the extensive nature of the non-parental abductions of U.S. children by Saudi princes and their procurers. Now I'm going to go back to the first line of this article. I shared this in a very important video recently. The very first line of this article, Bill, Saudi royals' child sex slave trade, reads this, quote, "We've always believed Madeleine McCann, the British toddler kidnapped in Portugal, was taken by Arab child sex traders. They get a lot of money from these blonde girl children," end quote. And now I'm going to put up on screen this picture of James Alefantis of Comet Ping Pong with his arm around Tony Podesta. And what more needs to be said? Nothing. But I will show this picture of the police e-fit sketch of two suspects being sought in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann that very closely resemble John and Tony Podesta. I've done videos about this. We're back into the realm of speculation, but I'm here to tell folks this Pizzagate thing is as real as a heart attack.
Well, Sean, if I'm not mistaken, weren't the Podestas staying like a block away from where the McCanns were? And wasn't it like a week later or 2 weeks later, they befriended the McCann family? Also, if you remember last year, immediately after the first WikiLeaks dump came out, Vladimir Putin recalled all Russian children from all over the world, school children.
Yeah, that's right. And he's also ended the adoption of Russian children to this country because he's very well aware of the problem of pedophilia. Now, let me circle back here. You mentioned the Podestas staying in Portugal, and the reports are that they were staying at Clement Freud's estate, which was less than a mile from where the McCanns were. And I don't know that those reports have ever been 100% verified, but I will say this. The WikiLeaks Podesta email dump showed John Podesta's calendar, and for that entire month, there's nothing on it. It doesn't say where he was, but reports are he and Tony Podesta were staying at Clement Freud's Prairie de Luz mansion in Portugal. And Clement Freud is widely known, he's now dead I believe, he's widely known as being a pedophile. And it was Clement Freud who then befriended the McCanns after the disappearance of Madeleine. Again, just a coincidence, right? But now we read this article that suggests it was Saudi princes that probably took delivery of that child. So it's the realm of speculation, but look, the bottom line is Pedogate, hashtag Pedogate. Go to Twitter, follow Liz Crokin, follow Melissa Zachariah, follow Anti-Pedo Angie, follow me, follow Titus Frost, and you're going to get the latest every single day on the global problem of pedophilia. We call it Pedogate. The DC-centric version of that is Pizzagate. And honest to God, Bill, you know as well as I do, it's as real as a heart attack. But we don't have to stay in this territory. Do you want to turn our attention to the economy at all, or any final words on this before we take a turn here?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about credit. And I do want to mention, this getting away from finance and the economy, I really don't like doing it. But it's absolutely necessary because everything is held up by confidence. And the real truth of some of these horrible things coming out is going to break confidence. Now, as far as credit is concerned, credit is given initially based on confidence. It's based on the confidence of the lender that the borrower can pay back. And we're seeing some things now, for instance, in China, the yield on their 10-year note has gone over 4%. They're more than 3-year highs. I've made the analogy that today's world is very similar from a financial standpoint to 1929, but the globe has turned a little bit. Rather than Britain being the past economic leader and the United States the upstart, now the United States is the past economic leader and China is the upstart. So looking at China, I think, is very important because it's like what the United States was in 1929 with that credit bust. And to see China's interest rates now at 3-year highs and the yield curve inverting, that is an extreme warning sign that you're going to see their economy slow and you're going to see their markets break, because there is so much leverage, cross leverage, collateralization of assets 2 times, 5 times, 10 times over, and in some cases the collateral doesn't even exist. So kind of turning back to what we were talking about before, any event that breaks confidence is going to break the credit markets, and the world runs on credit.
You know, one thing I would say, though, about, for instance, confidence as it relates to our sick, corrupt politicians being exposed for pedophilia or other corruption, involvement in Uranium One, etc., is that I actually believe in my heart and soul, Bill, if these arrests happen of some of these hardcore criminals, it will bolster the confidence of the American people in their government and in their justice system, and that kind of confidence could spread like wildfire throughout the economy. So I'd just say that about the economy. As it relates to pedophiles, as it relates to the Saudi purge, that bolsters my confidence. If confidence is lost in this global economy, in the stock market, look, the only way people can make money right now is to chase stocks or cryptos, because they can't get a return on their savings. So that's very, very dangerous. I mean, bottom line, would you advise people to do that?
No, at this point, truly, other than silver and gold, where do you put your money that you know tomorrow morning you're not going to wake up and markets be closed or your asset gone or whatever? I have to disagree with it will bolster confidence. During normal times, during an economy that's sound, a financial system that's sound, I would agree with you. But everything today is a hologram. All markets are rigged. Everything's rigged. And when confidence breaks, when the truth comes out, I believe confidence is going to break. It's not going to bolster confidence. And the reason being, there's too much leverage.
Okay, well, we can agree on the too much leverage, and we can also agree on the necessity to own some silver and gold in physical form, but we've been singing that song for a very long time. Now, historically speaking, we're going to be proven right. For instance, in the show Game of Thrones, I don't know if you've ever watched Game of Thrones. It's one of my favorites. I think it's actually probably the best show that's ever been produced in terms of acting, scope, the way it's shot. It plays out like a movie over 7 seasons. It's really an incredible show, but the ultimate truth in that show, Bill, is that at the end of the day, stronger and more powerful than any of the kings or kingdoms is the Iron Bank that makes the loans so that these kings can go to war. And at the end of the day, win or lose, the Iron Bank gets paid back in gold.
It's the Iron Bank of Bravos. We owe them tens of millions.
If we fail to repay these loans, the bank will fund our enemies. One way or another, they always get their gold back.
I think it's a powerful, powerful lesson. And of course, that's a fictional show. But in the real world, the same is true. The BIS, the World Bank, the IMF, they always get paid at the end of the day. And the central banks want gold.
Yeah, absolutely. The central banks understand. I mean, the central banks up until 1999, the Washington Agreement, the central banks of Europe were spilling their gold onto the gold market, and they were doing that at the behest of the Federal Reserve. I mean, this is all about the dollar or fiat on one hand versus real money on the other hand. The rig in gold has to stay. If the rig in gold is lost, everything is lost. Confidence will be completely gone.
So for those of us that have a lot more physical silver and a little bit of physical gold, certainly a lot more precious metals than we do cryptos, right? We look at the crypto market and it's an open wound in which to pour salt. for those of us that have been very tried and true to our core principles that honest money, real money is the way to go and protect our families. Meanwhile, teenagers are being made millionaires by Bitcoin. Anyone who got in early, and it's a bitter pill.
Sean, you could have Bitcoin go to $50,000 or $100,000. I have no idea where the top is. Nobody knew where the top was in tulips. In the end, you have to ask yourself, how do you value Bitcoin? And I wrote an article, I guess last week on Bitcoin. You can't value Bitcoin on yield. You can't value Bitcoin on price to earnings. You can't value it on book value. How do you value it? It's when all is said and done, I believe, and I do, let me be clear on this, I do believe we're going to move toward cryptocurrencies, but they're going to be cryptocurrencies issued by central banks. They're not going to be private cryptocurrencies. And speaking of the word private, one of the arguments has been, Bitcoin, blockchain, there's privacy. That's not true. You can trace the blockchain all the way back. So there's not privacy. But when all is said and done, higher and higher prices, in my opinion, is going to act like corn for a hog trap. You're going to have more and more people going into these private cryptocurrencies, and the door is going to shut.
I want to ask you this about cryptos. First of all, about Bitcoin, I'd say, about a year and a half or two ago, I did recommend that people at least dip a toe in the pool back when Bitcoin was between, I think, 500, 600, 700, 4, right in there, between 400 and 800. That's where I started buying a few. And I've held them to this day because I've heard many say it could go to $1 million a Bitcoin. It's definitely a casino gamble. That's the way I look at it.
It's a speculation.
It's a speculation, but the bottom line on Bitcoin is that the most that will ever be mined is 21 million, and out of those 21 million, I wonder how many tens of thousands have been lost from lost wallets, etc. You can make the 20. Just think about that for a minute. 21 million Bitcoin in a world with 7 billion people. In a country with over 300 million people, there's not enough Bitcoin for everybody in our own country to have even one. So,
Sean, that argument would work if Bitcoin was the only cryptocurrency. How many cryptocurrencies are there? 1,000, 5,000, 10,000? I don't know. How many cryptocurrencies are going to be created?
No, I hear you, but here's the crazy part. It was just a few years ago that the entire market value, the whole market cap of all of the cryptos combined was less than 10 billion. It's now closer to 150 billion. Could it not be $1 trillion or $2 trillion or $5 trillion in the coming years? Certainly it could be. Why? Because the fiat currencies are hyperinflating when priced in these cryptocurrencies.
But
when priced in stocks as well. When priced in stocks, look at Amazon. It's over $1,000 a share. And that criminal that runs the company, Jeff Bezos, is worth $95 billion. He's the world's richest man. And he's cornering the market on everything because it's not a level playing field. When grocery stores and shoe stores and you pick it, when everybody has to compete with Amazon and Amazon isn't even forced to make a profit, they can beat the hell out of everybody. The whole world is crooked.
That's their business model. Is to destroy everything and be the last everything standing.
I think he should be broken up. Amazon should be broken up as a monopoly. I swear, at this point. Somebody has to go in and do something about Amazon before they put everybody out of business and he's the only man left standing, and then he can raise the prices to whatever he wants.
Right.
Well, I got off track there talking about Amazon, but honestly, between the $600 million CIA contract for cloud storage, etc., this guy, Washington Post owner, we've come full circle. He gave John Podesta a job after Clinton lost and Podesta had nowhere to go. I mean, how ironic is that? Objective
It's not
reporting?
ironic at all. You should have expected that.
I'll tell you. Okay, here's my last question before I got off track, but this was on my list of questions to ask you today about Bitcoin. The CME CEO says Bitcoin futures will list the second week in December. Now, you and I both know that the CME and futures trading in gold and silver has destroyed the honest market pricing, the real world market pricing of gold and silver. How can this be anything other than bad for Bitcoin? Your thoughts?
First off, yeah, they theoretically could create an unlimited amount of shorts on Bitcoin as long as they have, 1% capital or 0.5% capital, whatever, to put down to create the options or the futures. So yeah, they can do the same thing via futures and options to Bitcoin that they've done with gold and silver. And I go back to this. What is Bitcoin? I mean, it is digital. It was created by a man or men. I mean, some people say it was created by the CIA. Who knows? I don't know. Nobody knows. But if it was created by a man, that man would be a fool if he didn't have a back door to get into it. Everything made by man, all technology made by man is hackable by man. And it's just, my belief is you're going to wake up one morning and find out either the whole thing was hacked, they kicked the table over, but I think you're going to wake up one morning and you're going to find out it's air. It's digital air.
Well, we've truly come full circle then, because we can also agree that at some point, I don't know when, but at some point in the future, people are going to wake up and realize the same is true with our fiat dollar.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's absolutely obvious. I just saw an interview done, and I don't even understand how this could be. I just saw an interview done, I forget who did it, of Bixware. And Bix for years was saying buy silver. There's 1 million tons or some crazy number of gold in the Grand Canyon. And now he's gotten onto Bitcoin, sell all your silver and buy Bitcoin, and says that gold has no intrinsic value. Well, it's had intrinsic value for 5,000 years. I don't know why all of a sudden, after 5,000 years, tomorrow or today, it has zero intrinsic value. I think what you're looking at is the madness of crowds.
Yeah, it could be. It could be a little bit like the tulip mania, the tulip bubble.
A little bit?
Well, look, I mean,
How about a tulip echo?
Even if you're just tulip echo, even if you're just a Game of Thrones fan and you don't know anything about central banks in the real world, even the Iron Bank of Davos has gold as its power. As the power it wields, power more powerful than any king's army, is the gold that they hold, with which they lend out. What? Pardon me?
That's what they want in the end. They
Right.
want to end up with all the gold.
Well, that's what the Rothschilds did to build their power. And they always won in the end, regardless of who won the war, because they backed both sides and they always got their gold back, just like the Iron Bank of Davos. Look, the Lannisters in the Game of Thrones would be nothing without the gold they borrow from the Iron Bank. I think it's an interesting parable. So I'll leave folks with that.
Sean, when all is said and done, those holding gold are going to have all the marbles because there's going to be a reset. And when the reset does finally happen, he who has the gold is going to make the rules. Gold in some form, ratio form, whatever, is going to be the backing to rebuild confidence in money.
Well, yeah, and let me leave people with one last glimmer of hope. We talked about the Saudi purge, the arrest of the bin Laden brother, the arrest of Prince Bandar, the former Saudi intelligence chief and orchestrator of terror all over the planet. One of the things I said in a recent video, Bill, is that Soros should take notice, because if the arrest of these men and the seizure of billions and billions of dollars of their money, if it teaches us anything, it's that billionaires like Soros are not beyond the reach of these changing winds. So let us hope that these winds of change are for liberty, and I certainly hope that all of these sealed indictments we see, which now number over 1,000, include some of the household names that our listeners would identify as the real bad guys.
I just hope that one or several of those sealed indictments have George Soros' name on it.
Yeah, me too. And Tony Podesta, and John Podesta, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and Hillary Clinton, and, as God would will it, John McCain. All right, my friend, we've come full circle at least twice, if not 3 times now. You know how much I appreciate your time, and you're always willing to explore the speculation of conspiracy. That's what I love about you, Bill, because so much of this over time is proven to be not conspiracy theory, but conspiracy fact. Bill, can you shout out how people can find you on the internet over at JS Mindset?
Yeah, you can go to www.jsmindset.com.
If you want the extra inside baseball stuff, you can pay a small fee monthly, I believe. Right, Bill?
No, actually, we don't have a monthly. It's just an annual fee of $129 a year. So figure, what is that, $11 a month?
Yeah, well, there you go. And guys, if you want to support us at SGT Report, we sure would appreciate that. Head on over to Patreon and consider becoming a patron of sgtreport.com and the YouTube channel. Those of you who are making a huge, huge difference for us, and we very much appreciate all of you. Bill, thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, my friends, thank you for tuning in. We very much appreciate your support at sgtreport.com, thelibertymill.com, and thephaser.com for real news 24/7. Thanks, guys. God bless. Bye-bye.
President Trump is the first president in the history of the United States that has vowed to go after not only pedophiles, but the elite pedophiles. The world is run by elite pedophiles.